So welcome, my name's Brian Peck. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing here with Mazévo, and we're excited to have you all on our monthly Mazévo Connect. I can't believe it's the end of October, and November is just going to start. We're actually expecting our first snowflakes of the season here in Denver this weekend, which I'm not necessarily looking forward to, but hey, it's that time of year. So anyways, I see a lot of you that are on the call today that you've been to other Mazévo Connects that we've had. So welcome back. You know how these things work. If you're brand new, we're glad to have you here. Today's topic is the Mazévo Community Q&A. I know several of you on the call today submitted some questions for us. This is a session where we're opening it up to just Mazévo questions of any type that you have about Mazévo. And we're going to go through those and answer those questions in kind of a group format. I think everybody kind of learns something in that case, including us, because we hear some feedback from the community and how people are using the software. So it's always super informative. So I think it'll be a fun session. So we're going to go through those questions today. Thank you if you did submit your questions to us. If you didn't submit any questions or you have other questions as we're going through stuff, we are going to have a few minutes at the end to just open it up for other questions. So we will be doing that there as well. So don't feel bad if you didn't submit anything. As far as how we're going to do this on the Mazévo side, we will answer a lot of the questions ourselves, but we also are going to open some of these up to the community and just, you know, if you've got a response on how you would answer a certain thing, because I think in some of these there are just other ways people may be doing things than what we here at Mazévo might envision them, and you may answer the question differently that way. So anyways, on the Mazévo side here, I am joined by a few of my colleagues. So we've got Wendy Newland and Joe Finley, who are on the onboarding team here with Mazévo. We've got Dean Evans, our CEO. We've got Claire DeGroat, who helps me on the sales side. And we also have Devin Jansen. Devin doesn't usually join these Mazévo Connects, so it's great to have him. Devin watches all the dials and flashing lights on our servers and cloud operations and everything. So he'll be sitting in here as well today. But yeah, so as far as Mazévo news goes, we are going to have another update on Monday. So you'll be getting that on Monday. We'll send out an email once that goes out. At least that's when we're planning on pushing it up, unless anything unforeseen happens between now and Monday. The other thing that probably you are not aware of, you may be, but recently, a few weeks ago, we started doing some polling of Mazévo users in the software, and it's for Mazévo requesters. So if you are a Mazévo requester, which I know most of you on the call are not, this would be the people who are, you know, at your organizations requesting space through Mazévo. Mazévo now pops up a little survey for them. It's just, hey, how would you rate the experience of making the request through Mazévo on a scale of 1 to 5? And then they can put some comments in about why they rated it that way. So it's our first time doing that. So it's great to kind of start collecting some feedback from certain types of users in Mazévo. It's really going to help us with developing the product and enhancing it, making sure that people are getting what they need out of it. The positive side of that is about 75% so far are rating it a positive experience. So that's great. But that also means, you know, there's about 25% that, you know, maybe there's something we could do better. So we're looking at that data and, you know, we'll be taking that into account here in future updates and things like that. So anyways, yeah, so I think that's all I have here before we go ahead and get started. Again, if you haven't, go ahead and put your name or put in where you're from in the chat. We love to see where everybody's from. Thank you to those that have already. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to read through some of the submitted questions here initially, and then we'll start providing some answers, things like that. If you have follow-on questions to anything that we're talking about here, just go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll be sure to address them that way. And then again, towards the end, we'll we'll have you unmute yourself if you want to just, ask your question that way too. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's see, I'm just going to stop sharing for now and bring this up. All right. So first question here, this was submitted by Adrian, which I see Adrian on the call. That's great, from Grace College. And Adrian's asking if there's a way for event planners to mark that a different quantity of resources, if there's a different quantity of resources that are used on an event than what was originally marked on an event, how would you indicate that in Mazévo? So anyways, there's probably a few different ways to answer this question. I'll turn it over to Wendy though first. And how would you respond to that, Wendy?
Thanks, Brian. So typically what I tell people to do in such a case, just go to the resources tab and select the resource that you want to change. And then right here on the change resources, just change the quantity here. So I've got 10, I used 6. Adrian, is there something more to that question that we should be aware of? Adrian, if you're there, you're on mute.
Hi, it's Adrian's admin. She had to step out for a moment.
Okay.
And so I'm recording this for her.
Okay. Well, I guess, Brian, we should maybe, do you know more than that we should know about?
I don't. She'll be back in a moment. So
okay.
I will have her play this. And if she has more, I'll tell her to put something in the chat. Does that work? Okay,
sure, absolutely. Okay. And then does anybody else then on the call have a different way of tracking that, or would like to open that up to the group?
Yeah, it's kind of like tracking the requested number of a resource versus the actual number of a resource. And we know that happens a lot, right? You might not need as many as you thought you needed, or you might need more after the event takes place. So yeah, anyways, I don't know if anybody has anything to add.
Okay, well, I'll stop sharing then and we'll move on to the next one.
Okay. So the next one was submitted by Dawn, and not sure if Dawn's on the call, but the question was, can you make changes on an invoice once the payment has been added? So kind of like changes after the fact. Dean, do you want to answer that one?
You bet. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. I've kind of got that set up for you. So yeah, if you've invoiced something, I've got this Acme quarterly meeting that I put in this morning, and I went ahead and invoiced it. So you can see it's invoiced here. Over here on the invoicing tab, I put in a deposit. I don't think I put a payment in there, but we could put a payment in 1, 2, 3, and we'll put $100 payment. Or, easy, $100 payment in. But let's say that they call and you've messed something up on this particular event, and they want you to change it and fix it. So you can literally go in here and change anything on this event that you want to. So let's just play here and say, hey, I didn't have 10 chairs. I really had 7. So we'll kind of play off of what Wendy was talking about. So I'll come in here and just change that to 7. So I changed that quantity a little bit different than what Wendy did. Wendy went over here and selected this and said change quantity. But just so you know, brought to you by the fine folks at Iowa, they said that it'd be a lot easier and quicker for them to go in this way. So you can change the quantity. Anyway, so I've changed that. Now, how do I regenerate an invoice? I come back over here to invoicing, and you'll notice the 2 things I want you to take note of. It's invoice 384. And it's 672.70. So magically, all you have to do is come over here, Don, and hit this regenerate button, and it's going to go ahead and recalculate that invoice, and it's going to give it a new number. So it increased the number. The old one is actually voided automatically. and then here's the new balance. So what it did is it took this deposit and this payment and brought it forward onto this new invoice, which for the people on the call that are from EMS, that would have been a nightmare to do. You would have had to avoid a lot of different things and make the changes. And so now it's just a button press. So the distinction is we don't lock the bookings if they're invoiced, the bookings and resources, and you can go in and change them. And that makes that a little bit easier. So that's the answer to that question. And I'll just stay there because I think I'm going to get the next one. But Dawn, did that answer what you were looking for?
Yeah, sometimes when I record the, if it's just like, doesn't have as many resources, it's just a one-time event. And when I went in and like added the check for like $500 and I've wanted to go back in and maybe check number or change the type of payment or something, I haven't been able to do that. It seems like I can't get in and do that. So that I've had happen too.
Oh, if you need to change the payment, you have to do that in another spot. If you're
Okay.
altering the payment, that payment where I put it in is just kind of a quick way to get that in there. Let me go back where I was. I was right here. So you can come in here. You could come, actually, let's see if we can change it. Let's go in. So if you click on that payment amount right here of $100, it's going to pull up all the payments on that invoice.
Right.
If you need to edit that, just click here on the amount and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could change anything you need.
Okay, maybe I thought I tried and couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
it should let you change.
But that's
right
all
there.
good information. So thank you.
So, all right.
Right. Well, yeah, there's a follow-along question related to invoicing here, which is, what's the best way to see who still owes us money? In other words, where's like an aging report?
Yeah. So we don't specifically have an aging report, but the way you would go and do that is you're going to go out here from the main menu. You're going to go to find invoices, and you're going to pick your department. That most people just have one, but some people here have several. And then you're basically going to say, well, I want to find all invoices since the beginning of the year. And then the secrets might be down here. If you say included zero balances, if you're really looking for what people owe you, leave this off. You don't want that in there. But when I hit search, it's going to go find every invoice generated from the beginning of the year through today that still has a balance on it. So you can see here our collection process is horrible. We've got an invoice here back in January that hasn't been paid. But these are presented to you in chronological order by invoice date. So again, I kind of look at that as an aging report. The oldest ones are on the top, the newest ones are on the bottom. And again, you can filter here. So if you're looking for Acme, you can just start typing in the customer name or a contact name, event name, and filter that list that way. You can also take this list of invoices and export them if you wanted to PDF or Excel. So again, instead of building some aging report, I don't know. I mean, if I'll just open it up to the crowd. If you really want like a 30, 60, 90-day aging, we could look at doing that. All I know is back in the EMS days, I was beat up because I spelled aging wrong. And it's really not wrong. I put an EING, and some people think it should just be GING. So, but any comments on any of that would be appreciated. So.
Dean, I don't know if you want to address this one since we're on the invoicing topic right now. JC just put in the chat if she's asking what the best way is to check reservations that have payments that maybe they forgot to create an invoice for.
Oh, okay. So JC, I'm going to get geeky on you here. If they paid you money before you generated an invoice, we call that a deposit. So what you're looking for is deposits that haven't been applied to an invoice. So you could come over here and basically look for any deposit. Again, you pick the date range of when you put it in the bank. That's not booking date. This is the deposit date. Okay. And then the secret here would be you'd leave this off. Applied deposits means it's been consumed on an invoice. So you're looking for deposits that have not been used on an invoice. And when you hit search, you've got this one here, alumni association has got one deposit here for $100 that is not tied to an invoice. So that would be a way that you could find unused deposits. I'll tease you with a feature that's coming Monday. You'll be able to click on this event name and open the event up if you have the event planner privileges. That's coming. So, JC, did that answer your question?
She's saying she's more looking for people that didn't pay anything, but they need to run an invoice for them. So these are people you need to create an invoice.
Oh,
There
okay.
is no deposit, maybe.
Okay, so if you need to find things that need to be invoiced, just go to this option here, create invoices. And again, you're going to say, well, I want to create an invoice for all events that occurred this month, right? So these booking dates. And I'd encourage you to do this probably once a month, that you go back to the beginning of the month to the end of the month and say, did I get everything? And now when I hit search, by default, this is going to find you every booking in that date range and all of the charges that have not been invoiced. Okay. And so this is all of the stuff that you would need to create an invoice for, is right there. So if an event had been invoiced or a single booking had been invoiced, but you added another one, it's anything that's not been invoiced would show by default on this screen. And you could see the charges again, just by clicking on the charge. It's going to preview that invoice for you. So.
Yep, that was it.
Okay,
She
perfect.
says, thank you. All right.
Right.
Okay, let's see. The next question here is about getting information out of Mazévo. This was submitted by David at University of Minnesota. He has some questions about accessing data from the Mazévo database for processing with software like Tableau. For example, I believe Tableau is like a business intelligence reporting type of platform there. So sounds like you were wondering, can you get data out of Mazévo that way? Those of you that were on the EMS system previously, you may have had access to the EMS database to do some of that stuff. It's different with Mazévo because Mazévo is a cloud-based software, so there's no accessing the database for you that way. So instead, we do give you an API. All of you on this call have access to the Mazévo API. Now, the API does require a little bit of technical know-how. You need to know a little bit about how APIs work and everything, but I'm guessing something like Tableau is probably can work with APIs and that kind of stuff. But anyways, that's the route we would point you down, is like, yeah, it should be possible. You would use the Mazévo API to do that. And I know you had some follow along questions with that, David, like, is there a unique ID for individual bookings? Yes, there is, but we don't expose that anywhere through the Mazévo interface. It's behind the scenes. I do believe you can get to that through the Mazévo API, but we don't, we just don't expose that to like the end user side of things there. Let's see. And yeah, so that's basically it. Feel free to jump in if you had further questions with that. I know you had some questions about the dashboard too. I was going to bring up here as well. I think your question there was,
can I talk?
Oh yeah,
Yes, you can.
Try chat.
yeah, just jump right in.
One thing that I've been wondering about is, I'm able to, and apologies to Joe, get a lot of data by just doing the advanced find events.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to, ask for everything for a couple of years. And and Joe is probably shaking his fist, but like it'll get me just about everything
Okay.
in a flat file. I'm wondering, but it's always at the booking level, which is fine because I can figure it out the other way. But is there a way to? I know that with analytics, you can look at stuff on like an event by event basis instead of a booking basis, but I'm not sure if you can export the event based analytics. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me bring this up here, and I'll show you what I'm thinking about here. So I'll share my screen. So you're talking about the analytics under reporting right here.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at a lot of different ones, but
Yeah.
but this will only analyze rooms or
Yeah. So it'll analyze these
display
things.
number of bookings. It doesn't have like a number of events. Or does it?
Ah, okay. You're wanting number of, yes, because when we're talking about rooms is at the booking level, right? A room
Right.
can only be on a booking, it's not on an event. However, we do have some of these things like if we do organization. And the reason I'm showing you organization is because here, magically in this drop down, you can look at organizations by event because an organization is tied to the event in Mazévo, and the event is what has all the bookings underneath it. So you
Okay.
can do the reporting there. But when you're at the room level, the room is at the booking because you may have an event that is actually happening in more than one room. It's got a booking in room A and another booking in room B, and a booking in room C. So that's why we can't really do it at the room level, give you event data, but we can at like the organization level. I don't know if that makes sense, but
That makes sense. And then after you run it, can you export it?
yeah. So I'll do this one since we're talking about events, number of events. We'll do all here, and let's see what we get. Okay. Well, I got a lot of stuff, but anyways, in this data here,
Oh, there it is. Okay.
yeah, so the export's right up at the top.
Well,
You just have to go to the data.
Will it export an Excel?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what that'll give you. Yep.
Yeah, when you
Okay.
hit export, it automatically goes into Excel there. You just have to go under the data. It gives you the chart one first. So just make sure you click on the data, which is right underneath it, and that's where the export is. So
Great.
yep. Yeah. One other thing too, since we're kind of talking about analytics and everything and getting data out of Mazévo, one thing we just put in recently, which we would love to hear any feedback on if people have, is this. I don't know if you've noticed, there's a little new icon up here, a little pie chart kind of looking thing. You just click on that. And what this is our new dashboard tool. I'm not sure why my system is, hold on here. Yeah. Let me log out and log back in because I'm having trouble. Technical difficulties here, folks. Hold on. Okay.
You'll have to put in a ticket.
Yeah, I'll talk to the tech support department here. Okay, let's see if this works. There we go. This is what I was expecting to see. So this is a newer feature for us here. It's the dashboard function, and you can set this up to give you, the vision behind this was to give you kind of just a at a glance type view on some statistics, some usage data that may be pertinent in your day-to-day usage. It's probably a little different, what I just showed David here with the analytics. That's more, we see those being run more on kind of a, less of a not quite as often as what I'm trying to say there, as something like this, where you might be looking at this, like every day or something. So this is kind of a daily view of things. And we give you, by default here, we've added in about a dozen or so different charts up here this way of things that you can look at. Like how many events did we create over a period of time? How many rooms are being booked today or for the last 30 days, things like that. And it will give you then these nice looking charts for that. But this, we put these out here as just a way to kind of show people, hey, this is what's possible. Now we're at the point where we'd like some feedback on like, hey, do you find this useful? Are you using it? Are there other types of charts or data you'd like to see here? We are very open to suggestions. So go ahead and put those in the chat or just let us know. You can send me an email afterwards. But we would just love to hear any feedback on this. Are you finding it useful? And if so, what else would you like to see in here? Because we can dream up a lot of cool things that we think are cool, but that doesn't matter. You all are the ones that are using it. And so your opinion is much more valuable to us that way. So anyways, just wanted to kind of plug that while I was on that question. So all right, so let's get to the next one here. This next question is about generating, it's also on reporting. How do I generate a report of event questions? Joe, you want to take that one?
Sure, I will. I don't have one set up that has event questions. Sorry, I didn't prepare for that. But with regards to finding event questions for output, the best way is using the find events and the advanced settings. So this is going to give you your data set that you want to be looking for. You may need to filter based on status or for a specific building that you have, and apply those filters that you want. So if it's only confirmed, then you will get, oh, sorry, I skipped one step. You have the option of your display columns to have your questions presented to you. So they all the questions come out at the very bottom of the list of your columns that you're going to be adding in. So I've got questions in here of, do you like green or yellow bananas, and so forth. And I can include those questions in, or I can include several others. So it's a matter of which ones you'd like. Then when you click your search results, I didn't get a big enough, that's not for today. I didn't get my date range. Sorry. I think I've got some in here. So now I get my data set, and over to the right, I've got my columns where I haven't answered my questions within that data set. I know I've answered those.
Well, but they get the idea, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
the answer's there. Not every
Yeah.
event in there is going to have an answer if it didn't come from a requester.
Correct.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. But I do have some, I know. There's some right there. So I've got that I have black and yellow. These are my answers to my questions. And within this data set, I can export all of this into Excel format and have those there to do some additional analytics and filtering or whatever. However, if I like to just do it on my screen, I can use this interface to do some filtering, or I can even group my answers, my questions based on that. So we can group them down so we can see them. So just knowing that advanced find events is going to help us with those, finding those answers to those questions from the requester. Okay.
Right. Thanks, Joe.
Did any other little follow-up there?
Well, there's another question here related to that one on reporting as well. Somebody would like to see a detailed report of resources on bookings. For example, sounds like they're an AV and they want to see all the times that a specific AV resource is being used.
So I can continue here on this same interface, the find events. This one I think is Dean and mine's favorite tool here for finding data. We default the find events page to viewing bookings, but we can view specific resources. So you could look for resources specifically. Once you choose resources as the display output format, you can then add that filter in, and then you can select very specific resource that you want to analyze or return data value on. So as much as I may have a projector with a screen used, or some beverages, whichever, and again, you may only want one of these. I'm trying to get just some data. And with this, again, you still have the option for your column selection. So there may be something in here I want or don't want. We do default to a lot of them that are kind of more typical, but there are a few others that you may want. You may want your billing code in there or something, or if you're applying taxes or whatever. At the resource level, there's a few other data fields. So it's just that you have more columns that you can pick through to display. Okay. And
Okay.
then let's see if I've got any. Yep, I've got some that do match those particular resources. So it gives me my service provider and my resource that was on there, and some the data fields that I had, which are defaulted to pricing and quantity. These all can be exported out. Again, all of our exports out show up into Excel format from this interface.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. All right. Let's see here. There's also talking about resources. There was a question submitted from Chad at Oregon State. I'm not sure if Chad's on the call or not. But wasn't quite sure what he was getting at here. It says, can we email notifications based on tagged resources for a set date range that's automatically sent to us? So it sounds like, my guess is Chad's wondering, can I get a notification when a specific resource is being asked for that way? The quick answer is no. Mazévo doesn't have that ability to be that granular. Mazévo does it at the service provider level. So you can say, hey, send me a notification anytime AV resources are being requested, or catering resources, things like that. But we don't go down to the specific item level and say, no, I only want an email when these resources are being used that way. So I wanted to ask about, if you had a specific use case in mind where that would be helpful. Also, if anybody in the audience has a specific use case around that, we're open to hearing it, I guess. It's just that this is the first time that it's kind of rolled across my radar anyway. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. Move on to the next one here. Also on reporting. Do you have a way to see all events happening after hours? A special example, security needs to know all events happening after 5 p.m. Is there a notification that can go out of showing me all the events happening after a certain time? Dean, you want to take that one?
Sure. The quick answer here, let me pull up my screen, is no, there's not a specific report that shows you things that are occurring after hours. So I'd encourage anybody that's passionate about that to unmute and say something right now. The way you would find it, the way I would go in there and find it, is I'd come in and say, well, I want to find stuff for this, the next 7 days. And then basically sort by start time or end time. So you could sort this report, does it start early or does it end late? Let me get rid of that sort. So you could see things that are ending late within that time period. That's about the only way to get to that quickly. But I don't have a way that you could filter, let's say on advanced, there's no filter option here for time. But we could put something in there if that would be important. I just don't know how many people would do that. Back in the EMS days, there was a report. It's like an exception report. And I don't know whether anybody ever ran it. It's things that were outside of building hours. So anybody was passionate about that, we could try to create some report that would have that. So
Right.
Brian, I'm going to jump in. Sarah down at ASU wanted to know, is there a way to get billing data without running a confirmation? So Sarah, this is the revenue analytics is where I would point you. So you could come in here and say, well, I want to see things for the last 17 days based on booking data. Or you may or may not have invoiced these things. And then by event, where you could do it by booking. And then you could certainly filter this by anything. So we'll just run it and see what the last 7 days looks like in here. So this is going to come up and give you each line item here. So here's the catering charges, bagels and cream. Here's your account codes. And then the gross amount, discount, taxes, service charges are all on this same report. And you can play with this and say, well, I want to, group this by resource and see total charges. So if you're looking for assorted sandwiches, you sold $139 worth of assorted sandwiches in this period of time. And all of that's exportable. But that's the same information that's on the confirmation. There's no notes on there. And it's the same amounts and things that you would see on the confirmation or the invoice. So hopefully that would be a way that they can get that. So.
And Dean, I think when you do those groupings and you export, it includes the groupings as part of the export, I think, isn't
I believe
that
it
right?
does. I believe it does.
Yeah, so if you even went by event number, then you would group by that too.
Yeah.
And the export gives you those totals. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Dean, while we've got you here, next question was from Mary Ann from Galveston, Houston Archdiocese down there. She's asking about changing events for departments to see all of their events. So it sounds like her employees are changing quite a bit, and she's having to change the owner on the event there. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Mary Ann, we might want you to unmute and kind of tell us what's going on. But I think from your description there, you've got somebody that's a contact on an event or more than one event, and they've left. And you want to go find all of their events and change them to a new contact. There's really no easy way to do that. The magic would be come in to find events. And I would probably say you'd want to do specific dates and go from today, forward. So if we went to, 31, we go to the end of the year. What I really want to do is pick a contact here first. So if you're looking for Bradley here, and then you pick your date range, and hit search, this is going to find you now this is showing you bookings, which is overwhelming because it's 36 bookings. But if you click this button here, show as events, you're now seeing there's only 8 events that you need to go in and actually change. Then if you look at this contact column, you're seeing that, well, Bradley, if he's the one that's left, he's only the primary contact. So this is the primary contact. He's a secondary because this is always showing you the primary, but it's also showing you things where he's the secondary or the billing contact. So to change that, you're going to have to go in here and select that and then go change right here. And so this is one that he's a secondary on. But if you've changed it on the events where he's primary, then all you would simply do is go into the contact and go down to Bradley and disable Bradley. Now, Bradley will still be in the system for reporting purposes, so you can see Bradley was the secondary contact or even the primary on the really old ones. All I would do is change today forward. I wouldn't go back into history and change it, and then you're just going to disable that contact. Now, I think in EMS, as I recall, we used to have a utility that would say, I want to change the contact from Bradley to Bobby. You know, you pick the old contact and the new, and it would spin through all of the events or reservations and change that. Is that something that everybody on the call would like to see? I mean, is it something useful or so? Any comments on that?
Not yet. I don't
Not
see
yet.
it
Okay.
but, there was another unrelated one, but Katie from Iowa is asking if there's a way to run a search for the most recent booking date for every organization. Right now, she's having to go into the organization window and she clicks on their events and she opens them one by one. She's trying to find out who's been in their building the last couple of years, right? Like, which ones haven't. Maybe, I'm guessing, Katie, you're probably trying to clean some things up, maybe, and get rid of some old organizations that haven't been used in a while, stuff like that. So,
Katie, if you could unmute and tell me what you're trying to do there.
Hey, everybody. Definitely clean up. So as we approach end of the semester, during break times is when we do like to clean up our organizations. And we'll pull student orgs, departments, public groups too, who haven't had an event in the last 2 or 3 years. So it's not a big number every time, but it is a project that we do is look through the organizations and see when the most recent thing would be.
yeah.
Yeah, let
Good
me.
idea. We've talked a little bit internally about providing some kind of data cleanup tools for you so that you could run them and, you know, kind of see, oh yeah, we haven't used this group in a few years, or you could use it for other things too, possibly that you haven't used in a while. But yeah, it's a good idea. So
Yeah. Let me
yeah.
think about that. There's no easy way to do it right now, but it just pains me that you have to do that one at a time. So there's got to be something we can do to help.
You know, it's somewhat meaningful work for our student employees over the breaks, so we'll take it.
Yeah.
You could, I'm just trying to be creative here. You could come in here for find events, and let's just say all events, and I'll do this for a short period of time. You would need to do it for a longer period of time, which is going to bring back much more data, but you could group this by, you can't group it here on this screen. You'd have to do advanced and do the same thing. Let me just hit search. But in this point, you should be able to bring this up here and group it by organization. And then when you sort here, you probably want to sort in descending order. And then you're seeing organizations and their bookings in descending order. So this would be right.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever known to pull the column header up like that. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yep. So I'm scrambling. I'm trying to get you an answer.
No, that's a good tool to have.
Yeah.
And then while I'm unmuted, I see a couple other comments too about the changing event contacts, or maybe not, I'm reading quickly, but we would probably appreciate an event contact switch, thinking about student organization leaders that maybe book a large annual event a couple years out, but if they have changed executive officers, you know, year after year, sometimes that contact information gets lost. So I'm thinking about case use there.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. There's a question here. I'll give this one to you, Wendy. Where did requester test mode go?
Yeah, so we did not take away the ability to be a requester and see what they see. It used to be up here in the top right corner, and you could flip over to requester test mode. But now what you do is you go to your settings, users. I'm going to find my name in this list. And on the security tab, in addition to you being the global administrator or event planner, click on requester and then determine which policy you want to test out. All right, so now I'm going to log out and log back in. My main menu, and now I see it right here. And this actually is quite a bit easier because now you can go put in a request as a requester and then come over here to your day at a glance as, you know, the global admin person or the event planner person approve that request. So it's just a much easier way to do your testing. And we do encourage that as part of the training is always, if you make changes, add an event question, tweak a security policy, go in and test it as a requester. Okay.
I'll give you one technical note on that. The very first time you grant yourself requester privileges in security, that's the only time you'll need to log out and back in is to get the menu items to appear. If you ever want to change your security policy after that first time, you can change your policy and you don't need to log out and back in. So.
Oh, time saver there. Nice. All right. Here's another question that might be pertinent to a few people is, how do I let requesters know who to contact if they need help making a request? So say somebody in your organization is going to Mazévo, they want to make a request and they get stuck. How do you communicate that to them? Wendy, you have any advice there?
Yeah, no, good one. At the top here, we've got what we call an alert, and I have something up here. If you need assistance creating a request for space or questions about your event, please contact event services at, and a phone number. And where you can put that, top right corner again, account settings, and it's this alert message right here. Okay, and you can use that for other purposes too. I've seen people put, you know, we will be having a fire drill on Tuesday. Just don't forget to take it off. But anyway, that's where you can put some help text, so to speak, about who to contact if your requesters are having challenges.
Hey, Wendy, stay on that screen for a minute. Down at the very bottom, there's this other text box that you can use. The requester support message. If you put, you can put more detail in there than you can in that alert message. And as a requester, if they just have request privileges, up on their menu, there'll be a little need help link. And when they click that, this text in this box will show up. But it's only the requesters that would see that. And Wendy's logged in as a global admin, so that need help wouldn't be there. But you can actually put text in there so that that pops up. We highly encourage you to do that. The reason we encourage you to put stuff in there is your requesters are very resourceful, and they actually end up at Mazévo and put a ticket in and say, hey, can you change my security? You know, and it's like, well, we can't change it. And so what we do is look at our primary contact on whatever school they're tied to, and then email back to both of them. So we're just trying to help short circuit that. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to hit the need help link, but it would, you know, it's just an idea. So we're trying to put that in there. So.
Did we get any follow-up questions on that one, Brian? Are we?
Nope, we're good.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna jump down here. Katie had another question about the security follow-up to our call last month. She'd love to learn more about specific administrator roles, along with examples on how the role might be used. For instance, billing admin and invoicing and service admin. Dean, you want to talk to that?
Sure. Let me jump back in there, share my screen. So let me go to settings. Katie, the easiest way to get your head around this is each one of these groups of functions is an administrative role that you can grant somebody. So you could grant somebody facility administrator and they would be able to touch these things here. Again, if you're a global administrator, you get everything on this screen. But if you were a facility administrator and you came in here, you're only going to get to see this. An event administrator, service administrator. So each one of these groupings is a separate security role that you can assign. So let me go in and I'm going to pull up Brian's account. Now he's a global administrator, but if I uncheck that, you'll come over here. Now, just to get there quickly, I'm going to type in admin. So these are all of the administrator roles that you can get. So there's the event one, facilities, room sign, services, and user administrator. So user administrator is pretty powerful because that lets somebody add and change user security, but it wouldn't let somebody create a new global administrator. So, but each one of those major things out here is its own security group. Now, billing, the billing administrator gets this function right here. So they can change pricing. And that's really what we tried to do is say, well, who should be able to change prices? And so you need to be a billing administrator to change any kind of the pricing information. As far as invoicing is concerned, there's another role for invoicing that would give you these two functions here. So a billing administrator can only change prices, and an invoicing person with that role would be able to get to these invoicing functions. So, and then you can kind of mix and match that. If you gave somebody just purely, invoicing functions, they'd only see these two. So I'm going to stop sharing and share another screen here real quick. And this is another user that I've created. So this person's got some event planner privileges and invoicing privileges, but you'll notice there's no settings up here. So I have no administrative privileges to go in and touch things, change rooms, prices, or anything, but I can create an invoice. So this is what happens. This is what the menu would look like for somebody that's got an event planner role with invoicing here. Okay.
Okay, so if someone like in a billing role would be the one that's creating the invoices, sending those out, they wouldn't necessarily need the billing admin they wouldn't be setting prices of resources as part of that role, right? So they
Correct.
Probably wouldn't need, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just trying to, again, do some cleanup.
Yep.
Awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the time. I know we're getting close to our hour. We will go through these questions on this call because there are a few more that have been submitted and everything, and I want to make sure we get to all of them. So if you can stick around a little bit longer, great. We'll go just a little bit longer if everybody's okay with that. And if you need to jump off, totally understand. But we've got just a few more to get to here. So yeah, that was a good one. I did want to bring up, Dean, while you were on there, Monica put in if there's a way to filter the view on the day at a glance requests page. Said that for them that view gets pretty overwhelming, so it'd be nice to have a little bit more control over what they're seeing. I'm guessing, Monica, that you just have a whole bunch of bookings that are showing up on there and you just are looking for a way to filter that a little bit better. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, pretty much, because it's, anything that's not an approved event. And so we've got all of the space, like we've got all of our too many statuses up to confirmed. And so right now, like it's, 350 of in that day at a glance. And some of that, like, just kind of, we're able to sort by when it was submitted. But since like when clients make changes, it sends it kind of back to the top of the list. And so we'd really like to get through processing events that are submitted before we're going through events that we've already like approved and then have submitted changes. And so I think like kind of the filtering aspect is challenging because there's only so much we can do with sorting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
we can take a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I might give you a call on that so that we can talk and I can see what your data looks like, you know,
Yeah. Of course.
just to get an idea. So,
Yeah, would be curious if anybody else on the call too has run into that or has the same kind of thing where you've just got lots and lots of bookings in there and things that are changed. Put it in the chat if you want to let us know, but that's good. All right. Let's see here. Work our way down. There was somebody submitted they'd really like to remove the auto adjust times for bookings in there. We talked about this one. Dean, you want to kind of talk about the conundrum with the changing times?
This is one we're never going to get right. So let me just pull open that event in my little quarterly meeting. So the problem is when we go in here and say change times, we've got this 12 o'clock. So if I start changing this, you'll notice I just hit down arrow to go back 15 minutes. And you'll notice my end time changed. All of these times actually changed. So if I go up arrow and change it back to 12 o'clock, they all change. We think that's driving some of you crazy. But the other choice is, do we let you change these times independently, the start time and the end time? So if you really needed to make this event longer, you could come over here. Now we only do it on the start time. So if you need to make it longer, we let you change the end time, but the start time's not changing. So the request that came in from Sydney, I think she's at UW, right?
Yeah.
Monica, she's like, disconnect those, just let me change the time. So we can do that, but it's kind of like, well, if you really have a 3-hour meeting and you're just trying to adjust it, you would need to go adjust that end time to bring it either out or back. So any thoughts on that? Because we don't know whether you're changing when the event occurs or you're changing the duration of that. And so that's the dilemma. We could certainly ask you, but then all of a sudden now you've got to check a box and, well, are you changing the duration or the start and end, when it starts? We're wide open. Any thoughts on that from anybody left? So
Danny's saying she'd prefer to change them independently.
okay.
Yeah. And JC's kind of saying the same thing. They don't need to
Don't
keep
them
the
in lockstep.
duration the same. So
Okay.
yeah, but anyways, good feedback there. And let's see here. Deb at River Falls is asking, is there more than one way to take advantage of the communication tools for setup crews and AV teams? Yeah, Wendy, you want to take that?
Sure. Deb, if you're still on the call, I just need, is Deb still on the call? Brian, can you see?
Doesn't look like it actually. So yeah, I don't
Okay.
see it on anymore.
All right. So what we were thinking is that she might have been referring to this messaging tab. And then she might be starting up a conversation with somebody on the setup team. And she's probably wondering, are there other ways that the group is communicating with their setup crew? So we wanted to throw that one out to the group. If there's other ways that you're communicating with your setup teams.
Yeah, so that messaging is the way we kind of envision it happening with Mazévo. So you can do it with, and today the way that works is it will let you communicate as an event planner with other event planners or other operations staff members or the requester. So there's kind of 3 types of users that you can communicate with through this tool in here. And yeah, so anyways, this is another one that would always be good to have feedback on. You know, are you using this, and how do you use it? You know, are you happy with the way that it works? That kind of thing, because we think this can be a pretty powerful tool for just kind of keeping all the communication in place if you're using it there.
And I think, isn't JC from Hawaii using this with her setup crew?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. She said they're using it for internal only, probably not their requesters then, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't want to send it to the client if they're not expecting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think operations people can. Isn't that correct, Dean? Operations people can't.
Operations can't, but I think what JC's referring to is it's pretty easy to grab that first channel at the top of that list there. And if you're not careful and you don't know to start a new channel, you could be communicating to the primary contact rather than to somebody internally. So maybe we look at a way to say, well, do you want to allow external communication? And we don't create that channel by default, just to kind of prevent that. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Claire, there was a question earlier about when the mobile app's going to go away. Do you want to address that real quick?
Yeah, it will be going away by the end of the year. However, if you just log into mymazévo.com, you can do a shortcut on your phone and get to it that way. So it's real easy, and it's very similar to the app.
Yeah.
So yeah, on your phone, you're just going to open up your browser of choice, Safari, Chrome, whatever it is, and just go to My Mazévo, and you'll see all of the functions formatted properly for your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it as a shortcut on my phone, so I can just click it and get right in.
And we have that video of how to put a shortcut on your phone on our knowledge base.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah. So just again, the app's not going away, you know, completely or anything. It's just the app you download from your app store on Apple or Android or wherever you go to get your apps. That's what's going away. But you still can use Mazévo on your phone. And that's we're just wanting to get the word out about that in case you're still using the old mobile app in the app store that way. So
yeah, there was a question. Is there a reason why we are getting rid of the app? That's all of my student staff use for their devices.
Yeah. Well, they get the same exact thing if they just go to their browser and go to My Mazévo.
Yeah.
It gives them the same functionality. Actually, it'll give them more because we haven't updated the native app in quite a while. So if they were to use the browser on their phone, they'd have the same experience plus what they have today. So
yeah. And we are going to start communicating that to them in the app here very shortly. So soon when they open the app, when they get to work, it's going to say, hey, you should be using this in your browser. And they'll just click the link and go over to their browser and log in, and they'll be good to go. So it should be pretty easy for you to get the word out about that. And people just kind of, the way we're thinking about it is they'll just kind of automatically start shifting over to that if they haven't already. So yeah.
Most important thing, the tools that they use on the phone are still there. It's just how they get to them. Is it this native app that they have to download from the App Store, or do they just go to their browser and log in on their phone? So,
yeah. All right, we're almost through here. Thank you guys for staying on a little bit longer. Let me see. I'm just kind of got off my little list. Oh, I want to delete a resource, but I can't figure out how. Joe, do you want to show people how to delete a resource if Mazévo won't let them do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Get over to my other screen here and share. So with regards to Mazévo's deleting actions, most of you probably know, but when you use something, you cannot actually delete it. So, and delete is truly a delete of getting it out of the database. So what we do is we have the disable function. So anytime that you have a resource that you're no longer needing to use or don't want people to select, there's a couple of different methods to use based on your workflow. Out of the settings and resources, the first thing that you may want to do is simply make the resource not or the requestable status, make it no. So this is when then your requesters can no longer see it for requesting, just by simply changing that. And you can either change that requestable flag here by opening the resource and checking it, or you can actually check the box and our little pop-up menu has requestable yes or no. So that's the first method of getting rid of a resource, but that will only remove it out of the view for the requesters. If you're totally done with it and you don't even want your event planners to see it again for future events, because it has been used on past events, it still needs to stay, then we have the disable action that you can do for the resource. So that's where it will actually take it out, and not even an event planner can grab it and use it on their events. And by disabling it, it will remove it from the list as well. With regards to that, make sure that you understand your resource listing here, that you do have an automatic default of your filtering of your page to hide those disabled resources. And so did I check disabled on that?
You didn't,
No.
yeah, but you didn't save it.
I
There you
didn't
go.
save it. So now I've saved it. Now I have my filter set to show disabled, and I can see them in here as a different font. But if I have my filter in as I normally come in, it's going to not show. And obviously it's also not going to be presented to the requesters as well. Okay, so there's two levels of that showing, whether you want your requesters to have it and only or not, sorry, not only, but not have your requesters see it, but have your event planners see it. And then if you want your event planners to not see it, then it's disable.
Right.
And that happens with a lot of our attributes in our configuration. So it's not just resources that do that.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, we've reached the end of the questions that I had people had submitted to us ahead of time. Those of you that are still on the call, if you still have any burning questions that you want to throw out there while you still have us here, feel free. But yeah, those were some good questions. So, and you can unmute yourself or put it in the chat, whatever's easier for you. Right. I don't think we have any more questions. So, well, thank you all for staying on longer. Sorry for going over today. We appreciate everybody's participation. I will be sending out the recording to this here shortly, and also we'll be getting the next Mazévo Connect, our last one for the year, scheduled in the next month or so. Probably happen after Thanksgiving, I'm thinking at this point. But anyway, stay tuned for that. And thank you all again for helping us out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.